Good morning. I want to give you a briefing on an incident that occurred beginning late last night and that has led into the early morning hours. Before I do, let me introduce everybody that is here with me. I've got Ray Ariano, the Assistant City Manager over Public Safety. I've got Farah Muscadin, the Police Monitor. I've got Ken Cassidy, the President of the Austin Police Association, Margaret Moore, the District Attorney, Basil Ali for the City Legal, and I've got the entire executive team for the Austin Police Department here as well. This incident began last night at 10:49 p.m. The Austin Police Department received a call in the 5500 block of Ponciana, and the call came in as an unknown urgent. The complainant called in requesting that the police respond to the location, and then the call was disconnected. We dispatched officers immediately, and the first officers arrived on scene at 10:50 p.m. When these officers arrived on scene, there were 3 officers that responded to the back part of the duplex. These officers went and knocked on the door. They ended up speaking with the resident at that part of the duplex who stated that they had not called 911. At that point, the officers moved to the other side of the duplex. They knocked on the door multiple times trying to get an answer. They did not. They looked through the window and did not see anything. They knocked, and then as the officers were leaving, shots were fired from inside the residence, and one of our officers was struck by that gunfire. The officers ran from the front of the house and jumped over a fence and called it in, and at that point we had multiple units responding to the scene. The officers, one was immediately extricated. Took a while to get him out and get him into an ambulance and get him transported to the hospital, and it took a little while longer to get the second officer out as well, given that we still had someone inside the residence that had a weapon and that had fired at the officers, trying to get them out safely. We did end up with a third officer who did return fire towards the residence as the officers were being fired at. The 2 officers that were injured were both transported to a local area hospital. One officer received a gunshot wound to their right arm and is currently being treated for that. The other officer received injuries to both his hand and his knee. Neither officer is considered to have life-threatening injuries, and again, both are being treated at the hospital. This call then evolved into a SWAT call, given that we had a barricaded subject who had shot at our officers and in fact shot one of our officers. This progressed through the early morning hours. As the SWAT team was surrounding the house, they would report gunshots that were going off inside the house throughout the attempts to get the suspect to come out. We evacuated the residents from around the surrounding homes, again to ensure the safety as we tried to bring this to a conclusion. We then utilized the Austin Police Department's robot to do a kinetic breach of the front door, not knowing if we had a second person inside the home. We knew we had the suspect inside the home, and we had information that there may be another person inside the home, and given that gunshots were going off inside the house, we did not know whether or not that person had been injured and they were in need of medical attention. At this point, once we did the kinetic breach of the front door, we have multiple different video sources on both the robot as well as the tactical vehicles that were there. We know that the suspect exited the front door along with a female, and at that time one of our members of the SWAT team fired upon the suspect, and the suspect went down. The SWAT team was able to take the female into protective custody and get her out of the immediate area. The suspect that came out of the residence has been pronounced. He was pronounced at 2:10 this morning, and what you have behind us now is an ongoing investigation that is being conducted by both the District Attorney's Office along with the Austin Police Department Special Investigations Unit, and we've got Internal Affairs here conducting an administrative investigation along with the Office of Police Monitor that will participate in that. The officers involved in this incident, the initial patrol officer that responded graduated from the Austin Police Academy back in December of 2017. The officer that was a member of the SWAT team has been with the department for 10 years. Both of those officers will be placed on administrative duty, as is our standard practice, while we have this ongoing investigation. And the officers that were injured in this incident, the officer who was struck by the gunfire has been with the department for 5 years. and the officer who was injured on both the hand and the knee is a 16-year veteran of the department. So again, we're in the very preliminary stages of this investigation, and there's not a lot more we can say at this time, but we'll open it up for a question or two.
So is it correct to say that this suspect shot 2 officers?
No, we have 1 officer that has been struck by gunfire.
But 2 officers injured?
Correct. The second officer was injured.
How was the second officer injured?
I don't know yet. Obviously, these officers, when the gunfire broke out, they ran and jumped over a fence, and I imagine in the attempts to get away from the gunfire, that's when that injury occurred.
So do you think the female was the one to call 911?
That'll be part of the ongoing investigation as far as if she was the actual caller.
Was she transported?
She was evaluated here at the scene. I'm not sure that she was transported to a hospital, though.
What's the condition of your officers?
Both of our officers are facing non-life-threatening injuries. I believe they are stable at this time.
Last question.
The school here, is this, we saw officers coming in and out, broke down for a while?
That'll be a decision for AISD whether or not they want to have this school schedule impacted here. The neighborhood is safe now and the incident is concluded. There's just going to be a lengthy investigation that'll take place now. Thank you.